It is Russell and Hunter's the Brewmance Friday Nooner. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being here. Hope you had a great week. Rob's rested and relaxed. Got a little bit of Flagstaff color in his face there. So been obviously hanging out on the deck, or he actually went and did something, which is not very like the Hunter fan when they go up to Flagstaff. They kind of, if I fits, I sits. Yeah. So glad to have you back, buddy. And I got to tell you, I had a rough experience with iHeart. My attorneys just knocked on the door. No. Don't worry. I'm not bashing on our exit from iHeart. Holy cow. No, being nice here. But I put up the new Go Show podcast and got the RSS feed thanks to Rob Hunter and Spotify for coaching me through all of that, because I'm illiterate when it comes to that stuff. And so set everything up on, Google and iTunes and all that stuff. And then I set it up on Apple Music or whatever. And then I set it up on iHeart, and everything went swimmingly. Just was fine. Cool. And before I did that, I went on to iHeart to make sure that the old podcast wasn't up there. And sure schnitzel, it was gone. Rob knows why. It was gone. And I was, okay, great. Going to start a new one, and start anew. They approved it. Everything was good. Right. So I went and did a search. I said, The Go Show with Mick Russell. My old one pops up. The old one pops up. Then I type in the URL that I was given to by Spotify, boom, and then the new one pops up. So I'm like, well, this is going to confuse some mofos. So let's do this. I'm going to call iHeart. I'm old like that. Let me call somebody. Let me get phone? Yeah. Let me get customer service on the horn here. I'm not going to chat with these jabronis. And so I call and I'm run through some prompts. And it seems very nice and very, very cool. And I'm like, okay, right on. And then I'm transferred. I'm sent a text that says that I need to click on this link and I need to pay $1. It's a refundable $1, fully refundable $1. And I'm like, wait, what in the schnitzel did I just see? And it was this pissed off customer, pissedcustomer.com or something like that. And I'm like, whoa, okay. A, I ain't pissed. And B, why can't I just send a message to somebody and say, I just need to link URLs, which this is easy breezy. Nope. Completely went to a third-party system called pissedcustomer.com.
Interesting.
What the hell? And here's the deal. So right when I said, I didn't even think about it because I didn't really see what it was. I thought it was an iHeart spot that I was at. So I started putting in my name. And I put in my name, and it auto-populated everything with my account number. I'm like, I have an account number? And I'm like, wait a second, I'm a pissed customer, I guess. I'm a regular pissed customer. So I looked it up, and apparently I was already in the system because of a Bitcoin or whatever type of crypto deal that I had, where I just had to ask a question like, how do I move my stuff out of that into this? And they linked me to that, pissedcustomer.com. I'm like, I promise I'm not a pissed customer. I just have a question. So now we've gone from assuming now from the corporate standpoint, and there was such a market that a company was created from a corporate standpoint. Everyone is a Karen or a male Karen. And we just need to, even if you call customer service, you are a Karen immediately. And you were labeled in that bunch, and you have to have your own account at pissedcustomer.com. The hell happened? I don't understand. I just wanted to talk to someone. I don't even care if they were in a foreign call center. I don't even care let's work it out, guys. Come on, this is fun. Let's work it out, me and you. I always say when people bash on foreign call centers, I'm like, they speak better English than I do, whatever country they speak in, Anyway.
But isn't it like indicative of what everything seems to be now? Mediocre or less? Because it used to be that we loved excellence in America and high achievement. But now it just seems like everybody just mails it in and thinks technology is the solution to everything. It's like one of the frustrations that obviously you have, like come on, somebody pay attention to me, the actual customer, the user, to make my experience easier.
And the experience, the hard part about that with the make my experience easier, I don't even want, even if it's difficult, fine. I'm so used to crappy customer service that taking something to 2-3 levels, that's fine. I work for an organization, volunteer with an organization on their board called Wildlife for Tomorrow. We had it through different events that we ran. We had several thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in our PayPal account. Okay. Transfer money to new said account. Transfer money. And then so I try to transfer money. Cannot transfer money. There's an error. I'm like, what do you mean there's an error? We can send you a debit card. I'm like, no, you can send me my money.
What?
And I had to go through 3 levels. I had to go through 3 levels of this customer service or whatever, and I still don't have the $25,000 that was sitting in my account. Still don't have it. They said they'd send me a debit card, but the max they can send a debit card for is $5,000. How do you hold on to my money?
Well, I mean, I don't know how that's legal. It doesn't make any sense. It just seems to
right. Yeah, we looked at all of our account settings, and there was no limits put on anything. We have a $50,000 transfer limit per day. Like, okay, so we're not even we're at half that, and we just we'll keep some in there if y'all want some. Fine, we'll keep $1,000 in there. Let me just can I just have our money? This is charity. This is a 501c3. This is a nonprofit. Like, we can't even get that. So I now I really want pissedcustomer.com. I want to be a part. Where's my account number for PayPal? But shouldn't we decide?
Well, yes. This is so funny too, because Mrs. Hunter, Lady Brewmance, she works with this company, and this company thinks that they're going to change their entire culture around by changing out their technology. But first and foremost, you have to train everybody to use the new technology. People don't like change, but they're like, no. Tech is the answer to everything. There are a lot of people in high-level positions across this country and companies and nonprofits that think, oh, just by switching to new technology, we'll solve all these problems. But obviously, Mike just gave you 2 examples where the technological solution was not a solution. It was a hindrance more so than anything else, especially when it comes to money.
I have actually, I have the overwhelming desire to call Elon. And, I got E on the phone. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I call it. It'd be like, dude, this was your spot. What the hell happened? Get back there and do some Twitter style reform on there, because y'all dealing with my money now. If you don't post my tweets, or you block me for my tweets or my X's, whatever. Do we call them X's? What do we call them? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to say tweets. I'm going to go tweets. You can block that all you want. You mess with my cash. Okay. Now we're having an issue, but I just want to go back to it. I want the option to be a Karen or not be a Karen. Don't lump me in like iHeart and I believe it's called what was that the crypto, the Abra. What don't lump me in and into the Karen world when I just have a very simple question. How do I transfer my funds? And how do I link 2 URLs on 2 podcasts on, the #1 podcast, whatever company? Should be pretty simple. I don't want to go to pissedcustomer.com. But then when I really am pissed, like you holding on to $25K of not even my money, of like charity money, for the love of grief. Now I want to go to pissedcustomer.com. I want the option.
But it is kind of interesting. Like, they try to shame you that you're the pissed customer and it's your fault, not their non-innovative solutions or the hoops that you have to run through. That's another interesting part about how we still generally like, personal responsibility, company responsibility, your fault. You can't figure it out. Too bad. Haha. Go to pissedcustomer.com and try not to be pissed.
or they treat you like a common criminal. Like I was saying, I started the podcast with Spotify, like Rob, the suggestion of my little bro, Rob Hunter. And so everything's working out fine, but I forget what was wrong, where I had to reach out to customer service. And to verify my account, I had to screenshot things and I had to send it to them. I also had to tell them the last payment date I made to Spotify, the amount, and the reference number. I usually, ironically, use PayPal for that. The PayPal reference number. It's like, okay, thank you for verifying your account. I'm like, the hell? I'm like, literally, we're talking about music and streaming here. We're not talking about like high level trades and, get the FTC involved. Customer service is so all over the board. It's blinding to me. It's absolutely blinding.
Yeah, and the only good news is when you find good customer service, you're like super thankful for it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it still does exist. You actually asked my name, how I was doing, helped me solve a problem.
Mhm.
When that happens, it's like finding gold.
It is. It is. And you know where to go get. Like, I remember years and years ago, some friends and us went to just wanted to take a few days off when living in Southern California. So this is several years ago, living in Southern California. And we just wanted to do all four major theme parks. We wanted to do 4 days. Wanted to go to Universal Studios, go to Knott's, go to Disneyland. In what was the other one? Universal Disneyland. Anyway, probably a zoo. But we went to Magic Mountain. So we went to Magic Mountain, and it was awful, god awful. It was terrible. I mean, it was. I went up to one of those lemon, the lemon squishy things, the lemon ices. Oh, so good. Like, crack those things. What understands? They said we're out, and I look at my watch. I'm like, it's 10 in the morning. I was told they might have some on the other side of the park.
Mm.
And then a host of other things went on, and just like we're going on the Superman ride, and the line smelled like urine, and I'm like, okay, let's just whatever. We got in the car, drove down as pass holders to Disneyland because we lived out there. Went right to Disneyland just to have good customer service. And the first two people we spoke to were like, I love you, thank you for treating me like I actually did spend hundreds to get in the park like we did. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, so it's just all over the damn.
Well, and it's all about the experience. And this is something I think we don't talk about enough. But I got a MacBook that I'm talking to you on right now, and it's not the experience of buying the MacBook, but it's the experience of what Apple makes you feel like as a customer, right? Their whole idea is you use their technology, you are a creative thinker. Remember that old ad they had back in the day? It had all the Gandhi on it and Martin Luther King.
Oh yeah,
They wanted you to have the impression if you used Apple, it's the type of thinker you were. So you have that experience, and you open up your box, and it's always expensive products, but the way that they package it, the way the technology works, that experience of being an Apple customer is rewarding. If you do that, guess what? I keep buying Apple.
Yep.
Right. Mike too, right? I got the Apple phone. I got the iPad. I'm all in on Apple now. I wasn't
Made
5
in
years
China.
ago.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's all about that experience. And if companies, if you run a company and you focus on that, and you focus on your employees and your employee experience, everybody's way happier. And there's less pissed customers at pisscustomer.com.
Yeah, right. It's its own industry now. They should just call it Karen's Unite or Karen's shout outs. Holy, but I mean, or is it that we, as the consumer, have become such Karenized? Or I think what's the male version? They say male Karen, somebody who's called Chad or something like that. I think that's sad because we got our buddy Camping Chad. But like the Karens and male Karens, we become so much. The corporations just like, I ain't dealing with this no more. Nope, I can't keep these these little entry level positions filled because they're getting screamed at like it was their fault that their Samsung TV decided to go on the fritz. Like it was this kid that answered the phone like it was their fault, like their Samsung.
Yeah, it's like yelling at the airport attendant, the person that's working the gate because your flight was canceled. That person didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. The attendant is Storm from X-Men, and she just whipped it up, that Storm that just shut the airport down. Yeah, it's my fault. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yell at me. Sorry, guys.
Calm down. Everybody take a breath, have a conversation, work through it, because that communication is very important. That's how you work through problems and problem solve, right? Rather than yelling at each other and referring me to pisscustomer.com.
Right. And speaking of, we're just kind of working through things. This is Russell and Hunter's The Brewmance Friday Noon. Thanks for hanging out. Happy Friday to you. I'm off to the Innings Festival after this. Oh, yeah. Gonna see Chris Stapleton. Very excited about that. And Turnpike Troubadours. That's how redneck I am. Just go throw that out there.
I am going to Stagecoach in April. So full-on country music festival, 3.5 days in Indio, California.
A friend of mine used to call that the Bear Country Jamboree. Yeah. Like at Disneyland, that's basically what you're going to. You're going to a giant hoedown.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I saw a video the other day because they got rid of the Bear Country Jamboree at Disneyland. And it was the last show. and somebody was filming it, and they had that voice over the PA, you know, it was y'all come back, so, you know, like that. And I was like, my childhood just left. my childhood just closed. Holy cow, man. Anyway, speaking of just sticking with it, a lot of people over the last year have been like, oh, they finally got Trump. Oh my gosh, they're taking down Trump. They finally got him. That's right. We got his goose is cooked. That's right. Instead of sitting back, taking a deep breath and going, let's see how this plays out. And how this is playing out is becoming quite the show. And I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying playing along, because it's like it's almost like playing Clue. It's that stupid. Like, it is that dumb what is going on with these Trump trials, because now the characters that were cast to take on Donald Trump are now being investigated for crimes that are a hell of a lot worse than anything they're accusing Trump of. I'm like, this is absolutely fascinating. We have attorneys general, that are perjuring themselves. We have district attorneys perjuring themselves. And all they have to do is say something like, yeah, I had an affair. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Yeah, I had an affair. Who cares? That has nothing to do with my trial with Trump. You had an affair. Okay, move on. Letitia James of New York, the one that ran on the platform of taking down Donald Trump, has now had her campaign finances. She's in a very safe spot. She didn't have to run. Her campaign finances are being looked into. And oh my Lord, did she love her some trips. Woo-hoo-hoo! This woman was on the take. Campaign funds for trips to Puerto Rico. I'm talking about $20,000 for the resort. This kind of thing. Paying family members $300 and some odd $1,000 as consultants. This whole wild thing. The people that are taxed to take Trump down are going down themselves. It's crazy.
It's very important, because we talk about the swamp, right? We talk about how politics works, and it works exactly as Mike just described. Robert Menendez, is that his name? Not Menendez. The senator from New Jersey, not Menendez.
Menendez.
Uh-huh. He's the same thing. Dude's got like gold bars in his house. He gave them to him from Egypt. Like, this is politics in a nutshell. This is that great awakening that Mike and I have talked about with you together for the last 3.5 years as Russell and Hunter, is that when you peel back the curtain and you see exactly how politics works, you really get disgusted. I'll enter Exhibit B, and we'll go back to Letitia James in a moment. There was a story out of California where Mike and I's rumored Biden replacement, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he ushered in a state minimum wage law, $20 an hour in California. But there's a couple of companies that have exceptions to that, and they don't have to pay that $20. One of them is Panera Bread, and the owner of Panera Bread is a big Gavin Newsom donor.
Shocking. Wow. That is absolutely shocking. You just never see things like that.
I thought Gav was just a morally righteous, upstanding guy. No.
Yes.
Just like everybody else, right? Because they're all on the take in some way, and they're all dealing with it. Because if I had, let's say I donated $500,000 to Gavin Newsom or any politician, I'm getting their phone number. Yeah. I'm going to call them up. I'm like, Gav, Panera Bread, you know that $20 minimum wage? Whoa, man, that's going to hurt me. What can you do about it? Oh, I'll put a tiny provision in the bill that's specifically for bread makers.
Yeah, correct. Yes. But here, think about how amazing that is. Okay, so think about the perk that is. Not only does he keep his employees at the 15 or whatever it was currently set at, but he gets to keep that. So his overhead and his franchisees, I believe it's a franchise. The franchisees get to keep their costs low, but now they get to keep their prices low when their competition, like Wildflower, has to raise their prices. So now the discount health fast food joint, and that's just a win. Man, that is shady.
But that's a fantastic point to bring up, Mike, is it does allow unfair competitive practices ushered in by a Democrat-controlled state and a Democrat-controlled governor who really wants to be president of the United States. And Mike, you said this many times, is that in the Trump era, there are a number of people who do not like Donald Trump. Kari Lake in the state of Arizona, there are a number of people who do not like Kari Lake, whether she's running for Senate, governor, whatever the case may be. But here's the thing about that. Mike always says Democrats always go too far. Letitia James in New York is a perfect example who is hell-bent on making her career going after Donald Trump. Well, it turns out that she's a little shady on the side. Gavin Newsom, shady on the side. Democrats overplaying their hands, but it gives you an indication of what they do with power. So all these conversations about Donald Trump and how he'll use power in term 2, and granted, I have some of those concerns based on some of the things he said, how much he's going to use power. But at the same time, if you're looking at the other side and you see how they use power, is it really any different? If Letitia James is using her campaign funds to have luxurious vacations while she's taking people's money to run for office, if Gavin Newsom is making sure that his top donor gets a carve out in a state law so that it doesn't apply to the Panera Bread Company, they're using power the very same way that you're accusing Trump of using it to benefit their rich friends, which was something Republicans were accused of basically all my life until the last 5 years when Democrats all of a sudden became corporate stooges and want to reward their corporate friends and big donors.
Still, that didn't change, though. Still, that didn't change. They're like, oh, the Trump tax cuts and that Schweikert, evil Schweikert guy, that's just a tax break for his rich cronies. And it's the same when we have audio of the Senate Majority Leader sitting there talking about his donor. I need to stall this. I can stall this all the time and blame MAGA people. I can do this all the time and blame Trump people. I'm good at it. So Biden's like, yeah, so am I. And everything was out in the open, and it is now, and I love it. And I think that this finally exposes that okay, fine, I'll give you Democrats. Look, I'll give it to you. Has in the past, I think most likely starting with Cheney and the whole Halliburton thing and the whole kickbacks and big deals and, basically the GOP billionaire boys club. Okay, fine. I'll give that to you. That optic I will give to you. Y'all the same now. Now the curtain has been peeled back, y'all doing the same thing. The Democrats are doing the same thing. It's shady on both sides, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Look, I looked into Ben Crenshaw, who is supposed to be, I'm the got the eye patch, I'm a wounded veteran, and I serve this country, and I want to serve my country. On the take, insider trading to the nth degree. Like, y'all,
Pelosi
please
style.
Look at this. Please
Literally
watch
Nancy
this.
Pelosi style.
Please watch. Please pay attention on what's going on here. Because is it Dan Crenshaw? Dan, right? Dan or Ben? Ben, yeah, Dan. But it is absolutely blinding now that all of the curtains are being pulled back. But here's what I'm seeing, at least in my own sphere. Fine. I don't care. As long as Trump isn't president, I just don't care. As long as Trump isn't president, I don't care. Like, the conditioning has been done so precisely. And I wouldn't even say precisely. I apologize. It hasn't been done precisely. It has been done with a fire hose. You have been drinking from a fire hose of anti-Trump nonsense, so much so that you can see your side committing crimes, flagrant, blatant crimes, and go, it's okay. Just as long as they take down Trump. As long as they take down Trump. Are you bleeping kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Now you know how the game works, right?
Woo!
And like Chuck Schumer's a perfect example. You just mentioned him on the tarmac talking to Biden, giving you the basic playbook of what politics really is. What they say to you is not what they do. It's not what they say to each other. They say things to distract the attention of the country because they know that 80% of us buy into the distractions. And 80% so focused on the distractions, the 20% of us who pay attention and see the corruption, we're just outnumbered. So the understanding people vote selfishly for what they want. And what so many people want, to Mike's point, is not Trump to win. So that it's the one thing that matters psychologically to so many people is, I don't want that guy on the TV anymore. I don't want that guy on my Twitter feed anymore. So I will vote for anybody but him. It is a selfish motivation that is why this conditioning works, is because it's a way of, I like, Mike, I say this all the time, language is contagious. So if you are really upset about Donald Trump, you're going to start reading more anti-Trump articles. You're going to watch anti-Trump television. You're going to talk to your friends about anti-Trumpness. And this isn't to defend Trump. It's just to understand how language works.
Could
so
be
if
anyone.
You're doing those, what's that, Mike?
Could be anyone.
It could be anyone. It works for Trump people too. I mean, Trump people who are super fans of Trump only watch Trump news, talk to Trump about their friends in a pro way. It's the same thing. When you're talking about either anti-Trump or Trump, it impacts your brain so that you stop really thinking about a broad perspective because you're just so channeled. And the difficulty in a country that is primarily doing that is we get this reelection that supposedly no one wants yet keeps voting for. It's very strange.
Wow. So it's going to be an interesting second half to the year. I'd say that. And we're not even half done with the first half.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So, but if you dig into Letitia James, you dig into Fani Willis and what they have going on, and now that the Supreme Court is taking on Trump's appeal for immunity in certain cases, and then you tack onto that, Biden did it because of the classified documents cases. And it was part of what he's claiming immunity on. And this probably the reason why the Supreme Court took it up is because Joe Biden was found to have committed a crime with his illegal documents, but too stupid to know better. So he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to prosecute him, don't prosecute me, okay? I'd a lot better classified documents than that guy did. Let me tell you. But this is now again. If you love Trump, you love Trump stuff. If you hate Trump, you listen to hate Trump stuff. Now that if you drank the I've almost said something bad. I don't like using that reference. If you have bought into the stupid narrative that we have a bought and sold Supreme Court, then you're on the MSNBC side of, oh, this illegitimate Trump appointed Supreme Court is going to let him off and he's not going to go to jail. No, it was Joy Reid, same person, different skin color. Joy Reid said simply, if the Supreme Court lets Donald Trump win this one, he will be president for life.
Okay.
You have a mental disorder. I honestly believe that some of the fanatics of Donald Trump and the antis of Donald Trump have a serious Trump derangement syndrome. I think that is a real thing now. It was coined a while ago.
Trump deranged in your Apple.
Oh, Trump derangement syndrome into my Apple Music. What are you doing over there, man? You got to tell Siri, yo, we're on air here.
No, that was on you. Yes. You were talking, and Siri heard you looking up anti-Trump stuff. So she was like, I can't find any.
Your Siri, you got to tell my Siri doing just fine over here. So I got to get intern Beans to stop calling me 3 times in a row. What part of on air don't you get, Beans? Yeah. This is the biz you're in.
That's good, right? We got you here.
Holy mackerel. Anyway, so that just buys it.
I was just going to say, Mike, is to me, there just seems to be very much a lack of leadership in this country. Lack of people in high-powered positions that actually have character. People that you'd want to come over to your house and have dinner with. People that you want to lead, whether it's their department, their division, their country. There's just not enough good people in these positions where you don't have to worry about shadiness. Because every major case over the last, let's just call it 8 years, somehow, shape, or form, politically, there's always a nuance in that the other side is dirty as the other side that's being accused of being dirty. There's no moral, upstanding people in Washington saying, all right, we're going to do this and we're going to do it the right way.
There's a couple. And one of them, if I were, Rob knows, if I were to have a superpower, it'd be the Force, and I would immediately become a Sith Lord. I would use it for bad. It just is what it is. I know my limits. I know who I am. And he knows who I am. It's okay. Been friends for 16 years. He has no illusions. But I would change that to the ability to act like a cartoon character. Remember the old cartoons where they would they would have to change something up and they'd ding, 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 they just super bounce and the people are like, whoa, what just changed, right? I want that because when the Senate votes, replace Mitch McConnell who is stepping down as leader. Thank goodness. He keeps glitching. Fraud. Anyway, and I would just immediately put Rand Paul. Rand Paul. Whoa, Rand Paul wins unanimously. Look at that. He's in and away we go. Because if anyone, for the love of grief, doesn't at least have the appearance he's some bozo that's on the take and actually wants to ask, why are we spending this money? Why are we expanding? Why does this bill expand government? I don't get it. That's the guy I want in there right now. Please, for somebody, everybody vote Mitch McConnell out and vote Rand Paul in.
Well, I would love that too, because he does give that alternative point of view in that, hey guys, this is not sustainable. No matter what you think, what your beliefs are, who you're going to vote for, what this country is doing, our spending, just not going to work for much longer. And if we start now in altering courses, it will be much less painful than the current course that we're on, which is what Rand Paul is talking about, is saying that, hey, look, you can ignore this all you want, but in about 8 years, we're all going to get kicked in the face and have to make some really tough decisions. The decisions now are going to be tough, but not as tough as ignoring these problems. And that, to me, is that ultimate part, Mike, of that what's missing in leadership is leaders never shy away from what's real, what actually is the big problems. Most of the leaders in Washington and anyone affiliated just would rather not bring up how that there's $35 trillion in debt now. And even the International Monetary Fund is like, yeah, we don't know what America's doing because there doesn't seem to be any attempt to lessen the spending. And when the IMF is calling America out, there's problems because those people love to spend money they don't have.
There's a handle that I follow on Instagram. I think it's cool. It's a young kid, and he rolls up to people that are just in, $1 million cars or on a yacht. Have you seen this kid? He's like, hey, listen, here's a little handheld little thing. He's like, look, I just want to know how you became successful. I want to see if you can give us anybody trying to start out, become successful. I want to see if you can give them tips. I love that. Talk about a really positive message. One of the guys he pulled over, he goes, listen, he goes, the number one thing I say is just be honest. Because you'll tell your customers bad things. You have to tell your customers this. You just shoot it straight. You always shoot it straight and tell them exactly what's going on, and don't sugarcoat. Don't make anything. But if you deliver and be proud of you delivering. But if you're not and something goes wrong, be honest, be straight, be upfront. Don't be asked. You tell them that something's going wrong. And I love that. What that is the David Schweikert and the Rand Pauls of Washington, D.C. that are screaming from the rooftops. Guys, this is going to hurt one way or the other. We have to be honest with you. It's going to hurt. Does it hurt a little bit now or a lot of bit later? We need the hurt a little bit now. And nobody wants to listen because it's politics. No, my AOC told me that everything's fine and that we should give migrants $1 million homes. Fraggle.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who don't value the work it takes to get to a certain part of life, because that's all I've ever learned in my life at 45 years old and going through a radio broadcasting career is that if you want something great, you got to earn it. It just doesn't happen. If you want $1 million home, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to create value either for a company you work for, build your own company, sell something amazing, whatever it is, you got to earn it. Doesn't just happen. And it not only is it just a slap in the face to everybody out here, you watching along with us, Mike Russell, Rob Hunter, thank you for being here. By the way, don't forget to tell people that we're back and we're doing this Mondays at 4:00 right here on Facebook or YouTube, and then Fridays at noon, because we're back, baby, getting the word out, because we're having these honest conversations, knowing exactly where this country is and the challenges that we have that we're not shying away from, because we want to be a place to be able to do that. Because there's still rationality left, Mike, I think. Because, I was just reading a Peggy Noonan column in the Wall Street Journal. I love Peggy Noonan, been reading her for a long time. She used to advise Reagan, and she's been with the Journal forever. And her point was that, Mike, you say this all the time, 80% of us, if you go out today and you walk around, you go to the grocery store, you go to any store, and you talk with people, we're not as crazy as our media makes us out to be. We're not at each other's throats. We're not yelling slogans one side or the other. We're just living life. The problem is the 20% get attention because they're outrageous. They throw flames. It goes viral. So it sucks all the attention out of the room. But what if you just ignored that 20% and did what Mike and I are doing? And we had a conversation specifically for us in the 80% that understand that America is awesome, but America is in a very interesting point where other empires have been in the past, other big nations, and you have to choose wisely what our next steps are, or we go the way of the other nations. The Roman Empire that fell, spending too much money was a big part of it. The other big countries, right? Britain, same thing. You grow and you get to this point and you have these challenges. Same thing in any big company. It's how you manage the challenges that ultimately decide the future. And if we don't, we're going to look at a future like France, where our economy doesn't really grow. the standard of living drops, because the average income in France is way lower than the average income in the United States.
Oui.
Yeah. So is that the life that we want for Mike's
No.
kids? Maybe for your kids or your grandkids? The answer is obviously no, but we have to actually have actions put in place other than just giving lip service. We love America. We want the next generation to be great. Okay, well, what are we willing to sacrifice to be able to do that?
Yeah, no, I don't think David Schweikert actually said it. He said that with this inflation, by the way, has not gone away. No matter what these bozos in DC tell you. And if you saw Biden on the border yesterday, I can't even. I strained 2 eyeballs rolling them so hard when he just up there and he's literally talking about climate change. Talking about houses in the Midwest burned to the ground and Texas burned to the ground. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about, bro? At the border, anyway. When we started with this inflation is still going up. It's just not going up as fast. I mean, there's a point where it's almost like a Laffer curve. It's like, this is only as high as you can get. And we just stop buying stuff. We figure things out. But when you're told that, there's only one way to break this inflation. And Blake, what's going on? It's the debt employment spiral. And so it's just a spiral. And somebody's got to lose their job. Lots of people got to lose their jobs. And prices need to go way, 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 way up for us to just stop. And it's pain. It's pain that's needed now for stability later. And so we need that honesty. And that's why I'm saying that Rand Paul is the type of dude in the Senate that would give us that honesty. And we the 80%, we can choose to take it or not, or just keep doing what we've always done.
Well, and I think that's the ultimate question is, this is what I say, this is our responsibility now. It's my responsibility. It's Mike's responsibility. It's your responsibility as you watch this. Because if we care about our country, just voting is just not enough. We always think that just because we check a name, everything is good. But this is a collective effort beyond voting, education being part of it, having conversations like this, because that's just it. I mean, that cold, hard reality is what we just talked about. We're at a pivotal point in America where we as voters, we as Americans have a better chance than ever, I think, to determine the fate of which this country goes. If we continue to ignore the truth, no matter how painful it might be or how it makes you feel, or maybe it turns you into a Karen or a Chad, doesn't matter. Reality's still reality, right? And that is one of the things I've been doing a lot of, Mike, studying the Shaolin monks and how they approach life, because they're big on just accepting reality and trying not to get too high about it or too low about it, because reality's still reality. So no matter what a politician says, promises, they can't deliver and don't even want to deliver on what the actual problems are. They just want to not talk about those problems, because if you talked about the problems, you might blame them for creating them.
You just reminded, sorry, buddy. You just reminded me of, hold on here. You just reminded me of Kung Fu Panda. So I'm sorry. My mind just went to Kung Fu Panda. And there's no ad. There's no, like, we're not advertising Kung Fu Panda 4, which is coming out. But I mean, it's just Kung Fu Panda, because it was that, who was the turtle, the wise old turtle that was like the master? He was like the wise old tortoise, and Master Shifu. No, anyway, he was one. But anyway, so he said, he said, I got some really bad news. He said, there's no such thing as bad news. There's no such thing as good news. There's only news. And then he said, the bad guy's coming. He goes, oh, that is bad news. So yes, even the monks, even the most dialed in of cartoon monks would definitely get that. But yes, but we have to understand that the situation is the situation is. So looking forward with a solution is always the best, because there's a big dust up, a big kerfuffle going on in the outdoor world here in Arizona on auction tags. So, big, because I think the mule deer tag, it went in Utah for like $570,000. Some people are claiming that that breaks the North American model of wildlife conservation tenet of opportunity for all. Only the rich guys get that. Okay, so it's a big. We're not going to get into that, but there is a kerfuffle. So I see a lot of people crying on one side, a lot of people crying on the other side. And I raised my hand in this debate, and I called the big players on both sides and just said, why? Who's bringing a solution? Anyone? No one. oh, I feel this way and the commissioners feel this way. Well, we feel this way if this happens. If you take it away and if you keep it, if you do this, pitchfork torches. Oh. And I'm like, guys, this is really not that big a deal. I mean, I think we could probably find either an alternative or because it's a huge source of funding, we can find an alternative or we can just kind of leave things as it is and maybe tweak it as we go on the fly. Why don't we sit around and think, guys? Why don't we sit around and have a chat? Huh? Or just let's let it slide this year. Everybody come to the table next year with their solutions, work on it, and see what we can find. It's the same thing with Washington, D.C. It's the same thing with America at large. It's just, okay, you can freak out about it one side or the other, or you can start offering solutions and showing up to the town halls, showing up to your state legislators, start on a local ground level and start to work on it that way. It's the only way it's going to happen, period. If you stop pissing and moaning about everything.
Well, and that's, again, getting back to that personal responsibility. If it's something you care about, what do you do about it? Because I always love that. I care. Okay, but what do you do? Because caring is an existential thing. It's awesome. You have a feeling about something. But if you don't do anything with that feeling, all you're doing is feeling. You're not making it better. You're not making it worse. You're just there. So caring is one thing. Caring with action is how you get results, right? You take that emotion, you put it into motion, create some action, and you never know what can happen. But this is not something that Mike can do on his own, or I can do on my own, or you can do on your own, or even Donald Trump can do on his own. That's what I keep saying. We almost want someone to be a savior to take on all these problems without understanding that it's going to take a collective effort to take on these problems. Like Mike going up against both sides. He's trying to influence both sides to come up with a solution, but they're so ingrained in their ways and they just want to be heard that all that gets done is a bunch of vocal airings. And they're like, okay, so now what? Cool. You don't like it. You like it. Now what?
Right. That's it. It's almost like virtue signaling it's opinion signaling, really, because it does nothing. Because it absolutely does nothing. And it's a challenge, but I think that with the few moments that we have left here in our nooner here, buddy, one thing that you might get a little dusted up about, because the French side of Canada basically is taking over. Did you see the Canadians are funding Ukraine? They're really stepping up now, and they want to fund Ukraine because Justin Trudeau thinks it's a really advantageous thing for him and his socialist leanings to do these types of things. I'm going to read directly from, this is fantastic. Read directly from the additional support for Ukraine legislation. It is called the hold on.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Gotta get my glasses. Hey, now I can read it. Yeah, all right. This I'm going to read directly from it. Establishing a gender and diversity working group to promote gender transformative mine action in Ukraine. We need more gender confused miners, and not miners isn't the way. We need mine workers working out in the mines. I got the lung pop. We need a bunch of gender confused. We need a bunch of Zoolanders out there in the mines. Remember this? Get hit with that little tiny hammer. Apparently, that's what they want to get funded as part of the gender inclusive demining for sustainable future in Ukraine. Funding $4 million is going to that initiative. 4 million Canadian heading over there to Ukraine for transgendered miners.
Just
not miners as in kids. I'm talking about digging the mine miners.
Yeah, but I'm saying, just want to talk about no solutions. Look at Canada solving big world major problems that impact everybody on the planet. Good job, Canada. Way to lead. But see, I think that, to me, is the ultimate point, is the placation by politicians. Because going back to our selfish interest, what's a politician's selfish interest? Getting reelected. So they know it's like a company. Like when Mike and I sat down with marketers, the Brewmance, the first thing they always ask you is, who's your ideal client? Who would you like to hang out with you here on the Brewmance? Ask Russell and Hunter. What do they look like? What's their age? And you go through this exercise and you try to come up with an avatar. And you've maybe done this in business too, or seen it done at your company that you work with. Politicians do the same thing, but they spend a lot of money really honing in on who that person is that's going to vote for them and why, and what their caring issues are. So You're a Canadian politician. You find out that X% of your voters care about trans issues. So you do something like this. $4 million, by the way, is a drop in the bucket that actually in something like this is no meaningful movement other than for the politician.
It kicks money back to somebody who wanted money kicked back to him is what it does.
What I started to do really during the pandemic, Mike, is I started to zoom out and look at our political system. And you can kind of survey it from like a 30,000-foot view. And it's so much easier to see how politicians think and what they do. The big question is, how do you wake people up to this reality that the politicians really pretend they care about you and your causes only so they can care about their own cause of going back to their office?
Mm-hmm. It's true. Because look, they're not in it for you. Ain't nobody in this for you. Nope.
Except for us. We're all in it with each other. That's what
how about this, Rob? I want to bring this is something I brought up just for you. I'm kind of teeing it up because I want to know your thoughts on this. Because Rob used to be known as hip hop Rob. I mean, Rob was basically defined by his love, his passion for hip hop music, and still is, but not identified as. You are multifaceted. You're quite the onion, my friend. That's right. Just peel back those layers, several layers to Rob Hunter. I can say that after 16 years, I'm not hitting on the guy. He knows it. So there is rumblings about, they're not really rumblings. I'm talking about photographic evidence that Sean P. Diddy Combs, Puffy himself, is kind of being accused of, and the pictures are seeing this kind of the deal. He's getting accused of pulling a Jeffrey Epstein and basically taking over his scheme of put people in very precarious positions and then blackmail them. And there's photographic evidence. We're talking about underage girls, prostitutes, all that stuff, but prostitutes these days, whatever. But I mean, we're talking about child trafficking here. And we're talking about pictures of him and these underage girls, excuse me. And apparently this all came out with this sexual assault case, and that he pled to and paid the person out for millions. And then now it's like, oh, but wait a second, there's a civil portion of this, and here's some evidence that we had. Apparently he had cameras, all over his house, hidden cameras, and had these parties. Who wouldn't want to go to a P. Diddy party? Who wouldn't want to go to Sean's house? I would go to Sean's house, even knowing he has the cameras. Don't care. I want to hang out and don't party. But he is now kind of been exposed as this, and will we as a society even care? Because we sure as hell didn't care much about Epstein's book. We didn't care about his client list. We didn't care much about the flight logs. Did he just going to walk on this? This is a big deal.
I think what stands out to me is how common this is. This is something you don't want to be common, where there are 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls that are ushered from wherever, Ukraine probably, war-torn country, people fleeing, who knows, other Eastern European countries.
Migrants.
Yeah, migrants, no doubt. In how the world really works. You want it to be a moral, upstanding place where obviously no one is hiring and kidnapping 14-year-old girls, but the reality is it's gross and it's unfortunate. And if these P. Diddy allegations come out and nothing happens, it just proves that we just, whatever. We don't care. Our politicians.
I think it's more that, politicians are in on it, is what I'm saying. And those in power are in on it. I don't think it's that we don't care. I think because when we, the people, find out, and I'm going to throw this out to you, Rob, you can fact check me all day on this one, because I study this stuff because it's mind blowing. Do you know what the average, I want to say, let's just say you can buy a human. I'll just put it that way. What they're doing with this human, do you know how much it costs? Average?
No.
$90. Wow. I'm not kidding. Again, fact check me on it. It's fine. Go dig in. It is the most disgusting underworld. We have 9 million estimated. 9 million kids that are being trafficked in this country right now. 9 million. And no, this isn't a shot at all. Biden administration lost kids. No, I'm talking about the very real, very disgusting problem that we have. And now when we have names like Sean Combs being mentioned in the same discussion, I'm not saying he's guilty. This is America, damn it. He's got to be proven guilty. He's innocent now. But mentioned in the same breath, we're like, oh. And then remember the Corey Feldman, Corey Haim coming out against Epstein saying like, y'all, this is real. This is a disgusting world that we have right here in the United States and trying to expose it. And now more names coming out. Holy mackerel. I hope there's not enough power to cover this up.
But that's the only way forward is to name names. And I think that was one of the issues I've already had with a lot of these people who allege certain things about Hollywood, which I, believe.
Yeah.
But throw names out there. Like, tear it down then. I mean, that's the way to do it. I know you don't want to defame people necessarily. It's tricky legally because you're accusing things, major accusations. So, Aaron, I do understand all of that. But it's like pointing me in a direction, telling me to go that way, but there's nothing at the end of the direction.
Right.
So that's the real, I think, the challenge is you're making all these allegations in Hollywood, but nothing ever comes out of it. And if the same thing happens with Diddy, where we're like, oh, well.
Yeah.
And we just collectively just understand that it's never going to change then.
Yeah.
Unless we change the people in power.
Yeah, exactly. Like Rob said, it has to be burnt down. And do we see that, and Combs do that and accept that as reality and just still bounce to his music and get excited when the songs come on and those that he's produced and collaborated with, and we get excited about that music? Or do we just say, I'm done? It's over and done. I mean, there's photographic evidence. Like, I'm like, that's what are you gonna do? It kind of harkens back to the whole Michael Jackson thing. Like, do we bounce to the guy's music or not?
Yeah, and I think the key word it comes back to, Mike, on our part and leaders' parts is restraint. Because I can understand if you're P. Diddy and you've been rich since you're like 24 years old, you have access to a lot of things that most of us don't. You get to indulge in things that most of us do not. And when you get to indulge in things often enough, even caviar will be boring. I had caviar 5 days last week. You're going to go to the next thing. And unfortunately, there is paths and avenues to go to the next thing, even with these underage allegations, because there's a system for it. There's a monetary economy for it, and there's a demand for it. And when there's a demand, usually there's a supply, regardless of the laws.
Yeah, and the supply's there. And it's disgusting, it's sad, and definitely the supply's there. So not to leave you on a negative note, but okay, I'll leave you on a positive note. I'm going to a concert, so there we go.
Hey,
I'm going to go see Chris Stapleton. It's Friday. Have yourself a drink. Don't drink and drive. Do all that stuff. Have an amazing weekend. Rob, great to have you back, and we'll be back on Monday at 4 p.m. That's our big show, and then we'll be back with Friday and the Nooner. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. He's Rob. I'm Mike, and again, we'll see you on Friday. See you on Monday. Have a